counselors at this point are women, except myself. I do individual sessions by appointment. So we have the group classes, but we also have individual sessions if someone is not comfortable in a group and they just want to meet with someone one-on-one. We have that option also.
Is there a reason why they're all women, or it just happened to be?
You know, I think just the field of counseling and women are very empathetic. So there's no particular reason except that's what a lot of women are into.
Right.
Yeah.
Good listeners.
Good listeners. Yeah.
Wonderful.
They're good communicators too.
Good communicators.
But they're good listeners.
All right. I got a question for you. Thanks, Keith, for writing this question. It's a good question. Keith says, after the death of his mother, she was only 55, he struggled with depression.
Yes.
That he never felt before. That's tough. 10 years ago. He even had to take leave of absence from work from counseling. So how do you deal with those people who suffer with major depression?
Right. You know, one of the things with major depression, anger is often a symptom of that. So although we can treat the anger and help the individual find tools to deal with the anger, we often refer someone with depression to a counselor who focuses on that issue, whether it's through medication or through process groups. We want to refer that individual to someone who's going to focus on that. And we do get a lot of clients who that is their main issue. Is depression. And we want them to make sure that they get appropriate help, so oftentimes we send them to an individual who works with major depression.
All right, that's a very good answer there. Another question, keep them coming. Do you find any relation to the number of clients to their income level or educational level? Example, do lower income have more referral? That's interesting.
That is an interesting question. And yes, in some of our locations, we have individuals who are court ordered, and these are oftentimes in the lower income neighborhoods. And I believe a lot of times they're court ordered because of what they're going through, and oftentimes the stressors that are involved in their neighborhoods may cause them to go to aggression. But in addition to that, we don't find a lot of individuals in lower economic neighborhoods getting help because they can't afford it. But we do find individuals in some of our outlying communities, maybe like Pasadena, they're self-referred. So we find them coming on their own just because they have the income to deal with their anger.
All right. Another question. I've heard depression is anger turned inward. Wouldn't anger management be helpful?
Depression is anger turned inward. You know, I think you really have to differentiate that anger is an emotion, and oftentimes, like I said, it's an expression or it's a secondary emotion. So the depression may be that you felt sad, you felt some type of pain, and you always want to address that first. So that's what we encourage people to do, is to address that primary emotion. So anger management may be beneficial because we are steering that person to the core of their pain, of their depression, and we're asking them to address that.
Okay. Well, thanks for all those answers there. Let me ask you another thing. Have you had any failures?
Yeah, we have had individuals who repeated the class.
Okay.
You know, maybe they were court ordered. They went through the class, and they got another conviction, and they went through the class again. Just like any type of treatment, you have to be ready for treatment.
Right.
You have to identify that it's a problem for you, and you have to want to get help.
So they have to want the help. What if they don't want it? Hey, nothing's wrong with me. I'm justified.
Right.
Yeah.
There's not a lot I can do. What we hope for is that life, as they continue to go on this path, that they'll experience something to let them know that this is a problem for me. You know, maybe they lose someone they really cared about, or maybe they lose a job that they really wanted. Ultimately, we have a lot of individuals who end up locked up. I had one young man who was in my class, and he ended up getting a murder charge based on his anger. You know, I don't know what type of treatments he's getting in prison. So even though he's incarcerated right now, there's still hope for him.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever turn to like treating with drugs, like medications?
Not in an anger management class. It's strictly an educational process.
Okay.
Right. So if we feel that that individual needs some type of medication, we would refer them out, and we often do get individuals like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Shannon, I have more questions. Oh, we got one more.
All right.
Do you find that most clients have legitimate reasons for being angry? And if so, is there any way to justify their anger but learn to change their behavior to be okay to be angry, not to express it in a harsh or negative manner?
Yeah, I think we all have justification to be angry at some point in our lives. One of the examples I always use is the civil rights movement. There was a people who were justifiably angry, but what they did was they used their anger to motivate change. So they weren't violent. They used sit-ins, and they used that to change the system. So anger can be a motivator. It's not a bad thing.
Okay. Speaking of bad, is it necessarily bad to yell if you're angry?
Is it necessarily bad to yell if you're angry? I would say yes. I would say we always want to communicate to people in a way where they're going to receive the message. When we're yelling, oftentimes people get defensive and they yell back. So we're not really able to solve the problem when we get into an aggressive manner as yelling or screaming or cursing at the person.
But what if you're not aiming at that person? You're just saying, "Oh my God," or just like, they just curse at themselves.
Well, you have to ask yourself, is this effective? Are you thinking in your best manner when you're out of control? And oftentimes you'll say no. When you're able to really calmly think about what's going on and make decisions based on those thoughts, I think people are better off.
So don't even curse. Don't even say the S word if you're upset.
No, again, I think cursing is it's kind of a cop-out for people. They don't have the words to really express how they feel, so they throw out the expletive deletives because they can't express, I'm really in pain here, and this is what you're doing to me, and I'd like you to do this to make me feel better.
Well, thanks, Shannon. I mean, we've got a lot more to talk about, but I know you're doing some really important work, and it's no accident that your center is growing. You're helping a lot of wonderful people, or people who need help, and I'm sure you have a lot of wonderful people there. Just remind you of the information that, if you need some help, or if you want to meet Shannon, on a good way, I guess, go to that number and the website, and you get your help.